Hi Jill, this is your past life reading for today is October the 26th. Just so you know, I am using the Halloween tarot cards along with the Le Vampire Oracle. I've pulled a couple of past life oracle cards, and then I also have the Gypsy Witch Lenormand as well. So you had asked about past lives and asking, what's kind of holding you back as far as, feeling like life is a struggle and that there's lots of hardships going on. And you had mentioned that, you'd had a reading before about a past life where you were, kind of a scoundrel and stuff. And so you've said that it made sense with your political opinions, but you were wondering, what's kind of holding you back. And so what we're going to look at here is I've asked for the life that most pertains to this particular question, and then how it's affecting you in this life and what you can do moving forward. So let's get started with our reading. So the first position here is all about that past life's childhood. And here we have the King of Bats, and just because there's a bit of a glare, I'll put him a little closer to the screen there. There he is, the King of Bats, and he's reversed, and he's coupled with Cupid. So the King of Bats reversed often indicates that there's like a very critical person. And so right away, like I'm getting this impression that in this particular past life that's affecting you, as a child, you had like a very critical and maybe even abusive parent. You were in a very strict environment. The Cupid card here tells me that, you were kind of born as a love child. So I'm really getting the distinct impression that in this particular life you were male. I don't know why I'm getting that impression, but I just am. And it's telling me that you were kind of a child that was born from a particular situation. It could have been an affair or a short-term love affair of some kind. And because of that, people may have not been as kind to you. And you may have ended up feeling ostracized or criticized or abused in some manner. So I'm wondering right away when I see these cards if this may be actually referring to that particular past life where you may have been a scoundrel, or it could have been a similar life, but we'll see as we go forward what the cards reveal. But it's saying that, that in this particular life you had a difficult childhood. So while you were born out of a circumstance of love and passion, as a child, things were, particularly difficult for you. You may have struggled with things like feeling accepted or feeling loved in that life. And I feel like there were a lot of people who criticized you or ostracized you that really made you feel like you were an outsider, that you were not accepted for who you were. And so in that particular life, you were really struggling for, acceptance. Now, for relationships in that particular life, we actually have a very nice card here. We have the Four of Imps, and we have the Coffin. So the Four of Imps often pertains to a marriage in the Four of Wands in most decks, but it pertains to marriage. So it does show me that you did find someone that you really loved, that you were very happy with, a person that really made you feel comforted and welcome and had like a really good support system with them. So even though you were challenged in that particular life's childhood, when it came to relationships as you got older, you actually did find someone that you really loved and bonded with, and that you really gelled with, like somebody who you really felt like they cared about you, they really loved you. But with the Coffin here, it shows me that that particular spouse passed away. Now, I don't know how soon into, the marriage, this particular person passed away, but this person that you found and loved and felt a sense of stability with, with the Coffin there, it tells me that person passed away, and that probably left you feeling very bereft because you had finally found, a place where you were loved. You finally found a place where you felt like you were accepted, and then that was taken away from you. Now, the next card here shows your career, or you're standing in the community. And here we have the Three of Ghosts, and we have the Lilies. So here is celebration. So this is interesting showing up in the career area, because this can mean sometimes it comes up for, a woman. Sometimes it comes up in career area for somebody that was involved in like the hospitality industry. So you may have had something to do with like running an inn, or providing, beer for people, making beer, enjoying things. There's something to do with hospitality, people enjoying things, people partying, that kind of thing, that was in your career. And the lilies here also can relate to sexuality. So it could have been, you may have gotten involved with things like, on one end, just running an inn or running a brewery, all the way to like running a brothel kind of thing, because the lilies often have to do with sexuality. But what I am seeing here is that, you had found sort of like, you maybe got involved in the hospitality industry, because, if you were not someone with a lot of standing, you may have not been able to get into like a trade or a profession. And so you ended up doing something that, helped people, or was like more in the hospitality, or something to do, I feel like it strongly has something to do with like beer. Like I feel like there's an inn or a pub being run here, or brewing. There's something to do with that, and so you got involved in that kind of area, and that for you, you put a lot of your energy into it because your spouse had passed away. So you put energy into this particular business because you were feeling bereft from that particular event in that life. Now, as for the death in that life, we have the Knight of Bats, or the Knight of Swords reversed here. And we have the Book. So here I'm getting that you may have died in either violence or an accident of some kind. It was very sudden. And it had to do with you knowing something, which leads me towards more like of being like murdered, or a fight of some kind, because the book is about knowledge. And so through your contacts in that particular industry, and again, I'm still getting an inn, like I'm getting an inn, a pub, something like that. You knew things and overheard things. And so because you had overheard something, or you knew too much about something, there may have been an altercation of some kind. There may have been a fight about the books, like money, that kind of thing. There was something involved there with the business that led to an altercation of some kind. So I'm leaning away from sort of the town rogue thing, although this could still be part of it. But what I am seeing here is, this life here was difficult. You had a difficult childhood. You were, ostracized. You were sort of an outsider. And then when you found somebody that you really loved and stuff, they were taken away from you. And so you really put your energy into this particular business. But, there may have been some shady contacts. There may have been some like underhanded dealing and stuff that led to a premature death. So, kind of a very dangerous and, it's sad sort of life here in some ways. Like you did really enjoy your job, it's showing me, and you did really love this person. But it looks like, there was a lot of sort of like things were going good, and then all of a sudden something negative happens. And so you can see how having a life like that might really lead to subconsciously a feeling of instability, a feeling of like, oh, if things are going well, what's going to happen next? Like the other shoe's going to drop kind of thing. Now, I did pull 2 cards for the past life from the past life deck. And what we have here is we have forgiveness and we have spouse. So I think right away with this that, you, in this past life, you were very upset that your spouse died quite suddenly. I do feel it was violent. I feel like there was an illness or something, or perhaps in childbirth, but it does say that, you were angry that they left. You were angry for quite a while that they were taken from you. And so it really took a long time for you to forgive that person for leaving you, or the universe for taking them from you, that kind of thing. So it does tell me there that your love life is very important to you, and was something that really affected you quite deeply in that life, as it would, losing a spouse at an early age. So I also pull an oracle card for what the lesson or theme of that life was, and here we have call for help, and it says reach out, need for backup, admit your needs. And so I think in that particular life, you didn't feel like you could ask for help. Especially after your partner was kind of gone, you didn't feel like you had those resources to ask for help, that you had to kind of do it all on your own. And that, you didn't want to admit that you were in pain, or that you had, that you were grieving. And this too may have led to things like, drinking, that kind of thing, which I do see in this particular card here. So it's saying that, you had to, one of the things that you're learning in this life is how to ask for help and how to ask for your needs to be met, which was something that was like a major theme in your life, is that you didn't feel like you could ask for help or assistance. So let's look at cards now to see how it's affecting this present life that you're in right now. So the first card that we have here is what's blocking you. So how in particular is this blocking you in this particular life? And here we have the Seven of Imps. And we have the Crossroads. So what I'm seeing here, the Seven of Imps has to do sometimes with deception, but it's really about when we're not being open and honest, or we don't feel like we can be open and honest. And that doesn't mean that necessarily that, you're feeling like you need to deceive people, but it could be that, you feel like you can't open up is really what I'm getting. And here we have the Crossroads, which is all about choices that we make. So I think that part of what's sort of blocking you from this past life that you're bringing into this one is you're still struggling with asking for help. You're still struggling with being open. You're still struggling with, how do I tell people how I really feel? Like it feels like a big risk to you to do that. So you feel like you have to make your choices on your own, or you feel like you can't open up and tell people, how you're really feeling because they might judge you. Again, it goes back to that criticism from that past life as child. And then also feeling as well like, oh, well, if something good happens to me, then something negative is going to happen right away. And so you really feel like you have to hold your cards really close to your chest, that you can't just open up and tell people how you're really feeling. So that's one of the things that you're carrying over from this particular past life that isn't serving you, that's actually blocking you. And I mean, in that past life, you may not have had a lot of resources. You may have had to protect yourself and not be super open about things because, knowing too much in this particular case, led to an altercation. And so again, that goes back to, I can't risk being honest and opening up because it might lead to danger. And you don't consciously think that, but if you're carrying that from a past experience subconsciously, it can really affect how you act and behave right now in the present. And then when you're faced with choices, you don't feel like you can, talk to somebody about it, to say how you're really feeling, or how you may be having, second thoughts, or just, doubts about things, or you may not feel like you can ask for that advice because you feel like you have to do it all by yourself. And I think that goes back to as well over here, if you did lose, a partner that was important to you, you kind of don't want to risk making the wrong choice, so you don't want to risk, losing that person. So it really kind of stymies you as far as like the ability to make choices, but also the ability to just open up and really just open your heart and be fully honest. And again, it's not about deception or tricking people. It's more about like just feeling like you can open up and reveal who you are and be vulnerable. That's really, on a subconscious level, that's quite scary for you. And so that's a big challenge for you in this particular life that you're taking from that one. So this camera has limitations, so I'm going to switch it off and then we'll start part 2.